not given a free hand and rendered a lame duck, Chairman Sir Cyrus Mistry in an explosive 5-page letter to the Tata Sons board, CNBC-TV18 in possession of the letter. Mistry warns that the Tata Group will need an $18 billion write-down, spots Tata Steel, Indian Hotels, passenger vehicle business of Tata Motors and telecommunications subsidiary as the legacy hotspots. The Tata Nano project was kept alive due to emotional reasons, as Cyrus Mistry adds that the only turnaround strategy was to shut it down. Mistry says Tata Steel's European business is facing a potential write-down of a whopping $10 billion, says he cannot believe he was removed on grounds of non-performance. Mistry calls the strategy of Indian Hotels flawed, says the Sea Rock acquisition happened at a highly inflated price. Well, our panel of experts, in-house and external, right here with us. Since we were talking about Indian hotels, let's go across now to our colleague Nisha Poddar. Nisha, critical commentary there coming in from Cyrus Mistry on the manner in which Indian Hotels was being run. But we are also now given to understand that perhaps, just perhaps, there could be a change at Indian Hotels yet again.
That's right, Shireen. In fact, this particular company and the appointment of the top guy, their MD and CEO Rakesh Sarna, has been fraught with controversy since the very beginning. It was the very first appointment that was made by Cyrus Mistry by removing Raymond Bixson, which was a huge cause of controversy within the Tata Group as well. So now, the painstakingly in this particular letter, Cyrus Mistry has written the various reasons because of which he thought that the top management needed to change and there had needed to be an overhaul in the strategy of Indian Hotels as well. So it clearly says that Indian Hotels beyond flawed international strategy, and goes on to prove it by giving a few important pointers. First, properties of IHCL and holdings in Orient Hotels have been sold at a loss. We know the Orient Express saga. The second one, the onerous terms of the lease for Pier in New York makes it very difficult and challenging to exit the company. We know that a process had been running there and it was difficult. And third, there is the acquired the Sea Rock property at a highly inflated price and housed in an off-balance sheet structure. He also goes on to say that IHCL has had to write down nearly its entire net worth over the past 3 years. So these are the specific reasons because of which Cyrus Mistry thought that a change in the management was very required, and these are coming in right now. But what we do gather from sources who are directly familiar with the developments at Tata is that there could be a change of guard at Indian Hotels. We do hear from sources with the knowledge there that Rakesh Sarna could be looking at other opportunities outside of Tata Group, and that could very well be one of the first high-profile exits that we could see as an impact of ouster of Cyrus Mistry.
Yeah, but the Tata Sons spokesperson reacting to that story has said that they don't intend to replace Mr. Sarna at this point. Nisha, thanks very much. We also spoke with V.R. Mehta, member of the Sir Dorabji Tata Trust, and started by asking him if he believes the option of a court battle is best left avoided.
I don't think anyone would welcome that. But beyond that, for me to speculate what is going to happen, I think it would be an astrologer's job.
Yes, and I don't want to go down that road, Mr. Mehta, but I do want to ask you, sir, do you believe that the events over the last 48 hours are going to cost the Tatas significantly? The reputational cost of this, perhaps at least in the short term, is going to be significant, is it not, sir?
It's not necessarily so. I don't believe, because you see, after all, people understand these kind of things do happen, and sometimes, some drastic actions are also required. So I would not imagine that by itself it is something which should necessarily lead to loss of reputation or anything of that kind. And given the fact that Tata Group has a reputation which is unmatched by any other group, I can even say without hesitation of being contradiction. I don't think it is going to, by itself make a dent.
Do you worry about succession, Mr. Mehta? I know that the Tata Group has set up a selection committee and has said that within 4 months they hope to have a successor in place, and that Mr. Tata has been brought back only as an interim chairman. But do you worry about finding the right candidate as a successor, given what has transpired and how the developments of the last 48 hours have played out?
You see, if I know Mr. Tata well, he stands by every word that he utters, every word he says, publicly or privately even. I have not seen him waver even one bit. And if he has said that he will stay as interim president for 4 months in which he expects to find a successor, I would go along with that. I would not have a quarrel with that. And I think it may be 4 months may be looking short in the light of the time it took last time. But maybe, see, this time they'll be able to do better and draw on the experience of the past to hasten the things, to expedite the things. So I don't believe that
Mr. Mehta,
it cannot be done in 4 months.
Yeah. Mr. Mehta, what would your expectation now be as far as the Tata Group is concerned? Because, this has dented the trust that people have in the brand, the trust that people have in the Tata name. What would you like to see the Tatas do at this point in time, the Tata Group do specifically, to try and win back that trust and that credibility?
As I said, you see, this kind of things do happen, though not very frequently. And it is sad that such a thing has come to pass. But I don't believe that it will make any significant or perceptible dent to the reputation of Tatas as such. I'm sure they will handle it well. Of course, I am not a part of that part of the system, so I would not know how they will handle it or going forward. But I would expect that key to this will also be the new person. See, after all, what can be done in these 4 months will be largely, for short-term requirements, right? And it would not be the long-term things will ultimately have to be handled by the new person and whatever team he has.
Well, that's V.R. Mehta, member of the Sir Dorabji Tata Trust there. But Saurabh, I want to very quickly bring in a comment from you as far as the succession plan is concerned. Because, given what has transpired and given the fact that you've now got an ousted chairman saying that, listen, I was a lame duck chairman, do you believe that anyone of any meaningful stature would really be keen on the job?
Well, that's the critical issue right now, because I think the way this whole situation has been playing out, it will be very difficult for some of the big names we are reading or hearing about to actually step in and say, okay, I will lead this group. Because if somebody with Cyrus Mistry's stature, who has an 18.5% stake in Tata Sons, is not able to function or allegedly not able to function, it really leaves little to the imagination of what a professional CEO may face if these allegations are indeed true, and I keep repeating that. So
yes.
Point is that we will need to figure out a solution, mechanism. The Mistry letter talks about how he was trying to set up an institutional mechanism of dealing with these various stakeholders, which I think is an important point we need to consider. Once that structure is set out, and we need that structure urgently, I think, and once that structure is set out, like Mr. Mariwala was also mentioning. What is the relationship between a professional CEO or chairman of the Tata Sons board vis-a-vis the chairman of Tata Trusts? How that relationship works out? What are the things they need to clear with him, etc.? I think that will be essential before a new incumbent or a new chairman is brought on board. I think that's critical.
Well, I think there'll be another problem.
And thank you.
Yep. The other problem that the future is going to face is not just incumbent to the chairman's office. I would guess that CEOs at all Tata group company levels would be a little wary of how much of the dirt is going to get dragged in, how many of their SMSs and file jottings will now be in the public domain, and how much will they be pulled up. So exits, is it only going to be the GEC level exits, or will it be lower level exits simply because they will be drawn into this proverbial elephants fight and the grass dies kind of game?
That's a valid point that you make. And again, Saurav, thank you very much for underlining allegedly. Cyrus Mistry allegedly says in this letter, and we want to keep highlighting that. But Kritika, let me come to you now, because Cyrus Mistry has allegedly also talked about Tata Group's telecom business. So take us through the specific concerns that he's raised there, because we also do know that the Docomo matter has been a significant point of friction between Mistry and Mr. Tata.
Oh, absolutely. Shireen, in 2009, when the deal was done, essentially Docomo had agreed to buy 26% for $1.2 billion, or a fair market value, whichever is higher. From 2011 to 2014, Tata Group kept trying to find buyers, but the valuation was too steep. And the fact of the matter is that TTSL had been struggling. They had lost out on customers. They didn't have the right licenses, and they had a debt figure in 2011, which was almost at 20 to 25,000 crore rupees. The point that Cyrus Mistry is making here is that when it came to NTT Docomo selling their stake, the higher figure, that is $1.2 billion, was almost 80% higher than the fair market value. And that's what he's saying here. That was against RBI regulations and Indian regulations to actually go through with it, against Indian law. The entire law would have to be changed. What Mistry says is very specifically that the original structure of the Docomo transaction itself raises several questions about its appropriateness from a commercial or prudent perspective within the then prevailing Indian legal framework. Again, allegedly, that's the allegation he's making. And he is very categorically saying and confirming here what we had been reporting back then, Shireen, that they tried to sell it very clearly. What he says is allegedly that of all the companies in the portfolio, the telecom business has been continuously hemorrhaging. If we were to exit the business via fire sale or shut down, the cost would be $4 to $5 billion. And Shireen, we've reported this so many times. We know they were on the lookout. Right. We know they were trying. There were no buyers at that point.
Yeah, and this... Absolutely, but another important issue that Mr. Mistry raises in his letter are allegations about what was happening at Air Asia. Joining us now is Subramaniam Swamy, petitioner in the matter that involves Air Asia. Mr. Swamy, appreciate you joining us. Now, Mr. Mistry in his letter allegedly states that board members and trustees are also aware that in the case of Air Asia, ethical concerns have been raised with respect to certain transactions, as well as the overall prevailing culture within the organization. Are you going to be using the contents of this letter in court, sir?
Well, it's absolutely in the court. The fact is that it's Air Asia has been, from day one, I've been saying both Vistara and Air Asia are frauds on the Indian law because it was never meant that an airline from abroad can come and sign up with an individual and start an airline from services within India. It was meant for a foreign airline investing in an existing airline. And Mr. Tata, knowing very well, flouted it, and he had a tremendous control over the previous government, and he had for some time at least tremendous control with our government. Now that's all over. And it's the next hearing, I think the Air Asia...
Sorry, my apology for interrupting you, Mr. Swamy, but you just said that he had significant control over your government, which is now ended. Can you explain that to us, sir?
Well, he had... I think his statement makes it very clear that he has broken off because he suddenly attacked us for intolerance, late recognition, but he's recognized, he said publicly, that it is very annoying and very sad that there's so much intolerance, and it is of a recent origin, he said.
So that itself is enough. I don't have to name the minister whom he had that influence.
Okay,
But
Mr.
it's
Swamy,
easy to guess because it's easy to guess because when the minister was not a minister, he certainly took his services for opinions on various legal matters.
Right. Mr. Swamy, I want to ask you now, in terms of perhaps regulatory action, do you believe that regulators like the DGCA may take should take suo moto cognizance of the contents of this letter?
Well, of course they have to, because I'll be filing it in the courts anyway, as soon as I get my hands on that letter, which shouldn't take long. And I've already brought in after the last hearing, a document where Mr. Ratan Tata was complicit, where they had a secret agreement between AirAsia and Mr. Tata as an individual, or rather representing Tata Sons or whatever, in which it is explicitly stated that the effective control will remain with AirAsia Malaysia, and which is against the law. And it was kept as a secret document. And can you believe what the government of India's affidavit now says? They said they didn't know about it. And they had to bring it to their notice. And so they have filed an affidavit in court.
Right. Mr. Swamy, it's always a pleasure speaking with you, sir. Thank you very much for joining us with your reactions there. Subramaniam Swamy, petitioner against AirAsia, they're commenting on the allegations that have been made by Cyrus Mistry in his letter. It is now time for us to head into another break, but this special show will continue. Final comments from our guests when we return on the explosive 5-page letter written by Cyrus Mistry.